Hi, welcome to the next part of the training of asset accounting lean implementation. So the next topic within the asset accounting lean implementation is spatial valuation. Now under spatial valuation we will be covering the above different customizations with respect to the spatial valuation. Before moving up with the customization, let's understand what this spatial valuation is all about. Basically, spatial valuation is used to valuate companies' assets for spatial purposes such as investment support and spatial depreciation reserves, as well as to calculate interest or cost account replacement values, etc. So there are various such cases where we need to calculate, we need to have a look of what kind of a spatial depreciation to be charged or different depreciation reserves to be created, what are the different investment support needs to be there. So these are the various things where spatial valuation is needed. So that is why we will be going through the customization with respect to spatial valuation in asset accounting. Now within spatial valuation we will be going through number of things in it. As you can see on the screen, net worth valuation, how it is done, then with respect to insurance, investment support and leasing. These are some topics where spatial valuations are needed. So moving up with the SAP system, with each of these customization steps, the first is assign accounts. Now in assign accounts we determine the general ledger accounts for the write-off or allocation of spatial reserves. The assignment of GL account is just as similar as we did in the last training also, where we need to assign the GL account for balance sheet accounts and for depreciation. Just within that there is an option of spatial reserve where we will be assigning the GL account with respect to spatial reserves part. So let's see within the SAP screen. So to move up for the spatial valuation part, we need to go to SPRO, enter, then SAP reference IMG. So within this we need to go to financial accounting, new, expend, then asset accounting, and within asset accounting we need to go to spatial valuation, and then we can expend the spatial valuation, and in that you will find the first option is assign accounts. So let's start with the first customization. Click on to assign accounts, and once you click on to assign account, it asks you for the chart of depreciation. So the chart of depreciation which we have defined earlier, we need to put that over here, that is 2000, enter, and it will take you to the next screen as you can see. So the next screen over here is basically the chart of depreciation is 2000 and the chart of account is 1000. So chart of depreciation basically is the key part for asset accounting, whereas for general ledger accounting, chart of account is a very key important part which contain all the GL accounts. So what we are doing in this step is we are assigning the GL accounts with the asset accounts, asset classes. So we need to select the control chart of account over here, and then once you have selected, we need to go to account determination over here on the left hand side, double click on account determination. So as we double click, it will give you the list of different account determination. So you must remember what was your account determination when you created that. The account determination was defined in the very first step of lean implementation. That was where the whole that wizard came up, and it has got 7 different points. One of that customization point within the wizard was account determination. So if you could remember the account determination we defined, there were two different account determination. One is for computer and one is for vehicle. So what we will be doing is we'll be using the account determination for computer. So we need to select that particular account determination, and then we need to go to and have to double click on spatial reserves. So now here we will be assigning the GL account for spatial reserves. Double click on it, and as I double click onto it, it took me to a next screen where we need to assign different GLs on the basis of different activity or different requirement. So you can see spatial reserves balance. Then similarly you will find expense allocation to spatial reserves, then write-off spatial reserves, and a lot of different headings are there. That is where against them we need to assign the GL. So on the first part, spatial reserve balances, we need to assign accumulated depreciation for computer GL account. So for that we can go and we can search the GL, F4 on the field, and it will take us to our own chart of account, as you can see. Okay, let me find the chart of account now. So we can take the chart of account, enter, and in this we can have our own accumulated depreciation for computer, as you can see on the screen, 100170. Double click on it and that GL will be assigned to this. Similarly, in the second part, that is expense allocation to spatial reserves, this basically means the spatial depreciation which we need to charge. So for depreciation now we need to search depreciation GL account. Again we can go for F4 and we can search that as well. You can go to GL description. Here we can write depreciation star in the short form, enter, and it will give you the depreciation account over here. So that is what we selected. Now moving up to next is write-off spatial reserve gross. This is not required. What basically required now is gain on from sale of asset and loss from asset sale. So for these two now we will be moving to assign the GL gain from asset sale. For that, let's search the GL for that as well. So you can find clearing account. Okay, there is no such GL. Let me search it again. So there should be a GL. Let's see, gain star, enter. If we can find now. Oh, not there, not been found. Okay, so there is no GL. Alright, let's search again, enter. Let's have the whole list of GL account, and within that we can find. So if you go down, you will find the GL over here, profit on sale of fixed assets 300390. So this is the GL which we will be selecting against gain from asset sale. And similarly you need to select the GL account for loss from asset sale now. So for loss now we will be searching a loss GL, and there you find loss on sale of fixed assets, and that has been selected. So these are the basic GLs which you need to assign over here. In case you need any other GL with respect to these other fields, you can even go and assign the GL over here for that, for whatever the GL you wish to assign accordingly, and that will be taken up by the system over here. Okay, one thing more, write-off spatial reserve after depreciation will have the same GL of depreciation. So that is what you can take up over here, enter, and you can see now the description of the GL account has been taken up over here by the system. So the first entry, spatial reserve balance, goes to accumulated depreciation computer. Then for allocation to spatial reserve for expenses goes to depreciation. Write-off spatial reserves goes to depreciation. Then in case you make any sale of asset, and if there is any gain or loss, that will go to their respective heads. So similarly you can also go and define your GL for spatial reserves over here within the depreciation area 3. As you can see, depreciation area 3 is used for spatial reserves by the system, as it has been predefined by the standard SAP provided in the system. So once you have done this, we can go and we can save it. And this is what we are doing is for only for computers, for computer account determination. Similarly, you will be having all different asset heads like furniture and fixtures, plant and machinery, building, land, and a lot of different assets. So for all of them similar to this, you need to assign the GL to them as well. So now click on to save option and your customization will be saved. Alright, you can click on. So it says the account 100170 does not exist in the company code 1200. So that is something we can create the GL with FS00. That is something you would be doing by now in the general ledger accounting part. So now click on to OK, and these customization will be assigned to the special reserve part. So this is how you would be doing it, and these all GL you need to define it in the SAP system, and then you need to assign it over here. So once you did this, now we can move to the next customization. Moving back to the path. So this is all about the asset accounting part. Similar to that, you need to go and you need to assign all those things to all those different GL accounts accordingly to this part. So you must have to take care that if you enter gain or loss account for this depreciation area, the system does not post any revenue from the write-up of special items for reserve. So moving up to the next step now is define net worth valuation. In this customization, we define the system settings for valuation of company's assets in accordance with net worth tax requirement. So how the net worth tax needs to be calculated, for that the valuation of assets has to be done in the system. So for that only what we do is we value the assets so that we can derive the net worth tax for the company. Even you can manage net worth values in the system in two ways. One is by in a depreciation area, and the second is as a value you can enter manually in the asset master records. So either you can automate it with depreciation area, or you can go and you can do the manual maintenance within the asset master records. So moving up over here with respect to this, we can go and we can execute the second step, and as we execute the second step, define net worth valuation, it gives you another screen which has given you three different options. The first is define property classification keys, second is define property indicator, and third, define reasons for manual property valuation. So in the first step over here, the first is define property classification keys. In this we define the allowed values for the property classification keys. Even we can structure the standard report for net worth tax valuation using the property classification by including it in a corresponding short version. So let's see how the classification keys are defined, what are they all about. Now basically these classification keys are created so as to classify your different assets, so that accordingly you can go and you can value those assets. As you can see on the screen, these are some of the standard provided by SAP. As you can see, for franchisee trademark there is a different property class or key has been defined. There is a different one for goodwill, then there is different for real estate, for minerals there is different, for machinery is different, for plant and inventory is different, vehicle is different. So what they did is the total assets divided into various different keys or categories, you can say, as per the property categories, and these 4-digit keys or code basically is known as the classification keys. So you need to decide, your company basically needs to decide what are the different property categories in which they would be dividing their assets so as to have their valuation with respect to net worth taxes. And accordingly you can go and it can define your own keys even if you don't want to use the standard keys provided over here on the screen. So if you wish, you can go and you can divide your own. As you can see, these are certain defined keys already in the system. So building has got a different key, machinery has got different, SIPs has a different. So if you wish to create your own, you can go to the new entries, click on to new entry, and you can take over here. Suppose I take it as Z001 and I name it as inventories, and I can save it. So that is one of the asset for me. Enter. So you can see now this inventory has been created and the data was saved. So similarly what you can do is you can first do certain categorization, note down those different categorization assets, in which categories this needs to be divided in a spreadsheet, and then you can come back to SAP and can define those over here into different asset parts. So now if we talk about the net worth in the standard setting, a standard provided by SAP provides a separate depreciation area for net worth tax that is dependent on the country specific chart of depreciation. If the net worth tax valuation in your country is based on normal tax valuation, then you do not need a separate depreciation area for net worth tax to be calculated. You can then use the tax valuation depreciation area for net worth tax. But in case your tax rates are different for net worth tax valuations, in that case you need a separate depreciation area so as to value your assets with respect to the taxes. So moving back, this is how you would be defining your own property classification keys, as I just has defined one, that is Z001 for inventories. Now moving back, this is about the first part of the net worth tax or valuation. Now the second thing is define property indicators. If we talk about property indicators, in this we define allowed entries for the property indicators. Under this indicator you can divide your fixed assets into different property types. These types basically could be that leased or owned. Now either there could be two cases, either you must have taken the asset or the property on lease, or either you have purchased it or owned that particular asset. So in case you want to know how many assets are on lease and how many are owned, so those kind of indicators can be defined under this step, define property indicators, and you can differentiate between your assets, what are owned and what are being leased, taken on lease. And if in case you got any other indicator as well, you can even define that within the SAP system. So let's see this second step, define property indicator. Double click onto it and it take you to the next screen. As you can see, property indicator 1 and 2. If you wish, you can create your own indicators as well. You can go to the new entries and you can define your own indicators. It's up to you how many indicators you wish to define. Basically there could be 2, leased or owned, but in case you got any more than that, you can define all those different indicators on the screen and save it, and that particular indicators will be defined within the system. And even if you have defined different indicators, those indicators can be taken up in different reports, and even in the reports you can find how that what assets are owned and what assets are taken on lease. So in this particular part, what you do is you basically create the allowed entries for indicators that meets your requirement, and once you have created these, the second step is, when creating the asset master record, you need to assign this indicator within the asset master. So this is how you would be creating your indicator. Now moving up to the third part, third step is define reason for manual property valuation. Now I said that you can value your assets automatically within the system, or you can go and you can keep on putting your manual property value each and every month end, and accordingly you can value those things. So over here now, if you go for a manual maintenance of asset value, in that case you need to give a reason to the system that why you need a manual property valuation. So that is this third step, is that there are several reasons why you might want to set the asset value manually instead of allowing the system to determine the value automatically, but you need to specify the reason using a key. So if you go to this step and double click on it, it takes you to the next screen. As you can see, reason for manual property valuation overview. So as of now there is no reason on the screen. The reason needs to be defined by you, why you need a manual maintenance of property value. So you can go to new entry and you can maintain your own reasons, what they could be, and whatever the reasons you give, you can save that, and those reasons will be saved, and that can be looked after later on for those particular assets. So if you wish, you can define it over here as Z001. It's three character. You can take maximum. It could be numeric alpha or alphanumeric. So the reason could be any reason, whichever you wish to take up over here as. Suppose value change every month, or value is unknown, not known, and I save it. And as I come to know, I can give this particular reason for manual maintenance. So similarly, whatever the different reasons you could have, probably you could have more than one, and whatever the different reasons, you can maintain that over here on the screen. So this is with respect to the net worth valuation of your asset, and for that you need to create this different three activity, and these three activity needs to be assigned to your asset master when you create the asset master account. So this is about the net worth valuation of asset. Now we'll be moving up to the third part, that is define insurance information for asset. Now this is an important part, because in every organization we insure our assets with different companies, with different premiums, with different kind of insurance categories. Like it could be an accident insurance, it could be a general insurance, so different kind of insurance even are there. So within this, we define the asset master data fields that are used for insurance. These fields are especially important as sort criteria for standard insurance report in the asset accounting information system. So if you maintain these things, you can have reports for that also, by which you can categorize different things for the assets. So basically the activities which we'll be doing under this is, let's execute it. So it has got three different activity. One is we need to define the insurance types, second define insurance companies, and third define insurance premium. Now let's come up to each of these activities one by one. Moving to the first is insurance type. In insurance type, we define the different insurance types that we need for the fixed assets. You can store these insurance types in the asset master record. The insurance type contains the varied control parameter for determining insurable values For example, value as new insurance or current market value insurance. So we can go over here and we can create the different insurance types. So let's double click onto it. So if you double click onto this, there is no types as on now. So whatever the different types you want to create over here, you can create that on the screen. So you can take one as a new new insurance. You can take one as a old insurance, or you can have different types can also be defined to it. So what different types you wish, you can take up over here on the screen, and that can be taken up by the system. So you can go to new entries and you can create over here. You can see there has to be a 2-digit code. Suppose I take it as 01 and I name it over here as new insurance, and then you can take the depreciation area also in this case. So you can go to F4, the different depreciation areas. Okay, we need to go to our own chart of account. There is 2000, so the chart of account is 2000. We can, alright, so this is our chart of account, 01, 02, 3, 15. So let's take 15, and that can be taken up over here. And then you can insurance on the basis of book value is there. If your insurance is on book value, then you can select this checkbox. Insurance rate required, if you need insurance rate also, you can checkbox this particular part also, and then you can go and you can save this screen. So this is how we have created the insurance type. Moving back, similarly you can also create the insurance types within the SAP system with respect to the details for insurance. Now moving to the second is insurance company. We take insurance from number of different companies. So what are these different companies? You would like to know within the SAP system which asset is insured with which insurance company. So to have those detail, you can go and you can maintain those insurance company names and details over here, and later on these insurance companies can be assigned to your asset master detail as well. So in this case, what we do is we define the insurance companies with which your assets are insured. You can store the data on these insurance companies in the asset master record also, and use them as for various reports perspective. But you can take on the asset master data only when you have defined the insurance company over here. Once you define the insurance company over here at this screen, then only you can go and you can select that particular company in your asset master data. Otherwise you will not find that particular company name there. So now we can double click onto it, and we can go and we can take new entries, and we can take a code for first company, and we can take up like AIG. Similarly you can go and you can take up second company with a different part. So different company name can be taken up over here, like if we take as BOA. So what are the different companies, you can name it, and accordingly the description can be taken up, and you can save this screen. So the company names have been defined. Similarly you can go and you can have your own insurance company added over here on the screen. So this is a simple part. Now moving to the third part is define insurance premium. In this we define the different insurance premiums for your asset, for the company's asset insurance. You can store this premium in the asset master record. Probably there could be a different number of premium you would be paying for the assets. For some it could be $1,000, for some it could be $5,000, for some it could be $6,000. So how can I define those in the asset master? So whatever the different premium the company is paying, you can add those premium over here on the screen, and once you add those premium over here, then when going to the asset master, you can also select those premium, and you can take up in the asset master, and then later on that can be taken up in the reports as well. So if you go and double click to this, and we can go to the new entries for maintaining the insurance premium. So the rate is over here, you can maintain the rate. Suppose I take it over as 1000, so it's up to you. You can take this as a premium AIG, or you can have premium 1 can be named, so whatever description you want to give so as to identify that. Suppose this is for, suppose I take it as premium for machine, or premium for software can also be taken. So this is how you can take. You can similarly have a different rate also. Suppose I take 20,000 for a machinery rate also with AIG. Even if you want, you can add the company name also. So, and then you can go and you can save this screen. So this is how you can also add the insurance premium the company is paying for their different assets. Now we can go back. So these are the different three activities within the insurance part which we have done, and these three activities, whatever we have defined, these all will be available when we will be creating the asset master, and there we can define the category of insurance type. Then we can select the insurance company if the asset is insured, and even what premium the company is paying, that can also be taken up over there. So these insurance detail can be taken up in the asset master. So this is how these different things works. Now moving up to the next is your define investment support. So if we talk about investment support is not used by every company or every country as well. In some companies, the states provide grants under certain circumstances for investments made by the company. This investments support amounts are normally displayed and depreciated separately from the asset acquisition cost. So if there are any kind of government projects, and the government has been sponsoring it, and the company has been purchasing those assets, these kind of investment support can be taken up. And even in different country to country, in some countries it does works, and accordingly you can depreciate those particular asset as well. So in this particular step you will find, let's go to define investment support. These are the different activity which we need to maintain for the investment support part. So we need to define the investment support measures. For example, what will be the validity period for that particular asset. Then you make particular specifications for depreciation area and account assignment with respect to the investment support, and even we specify details of entry of investment support in the asset master record. So when was that particular investment made, what is the validity period for that, those all details can be maintained with the help of the investment support over here. So the two activities, the first is define in investment support measures. Let's move up with the first activity over here. Double click onto that, and it will take you to the next screen for investment support measures. So as you can see now on the screen, that chart of account is 2000, and within that you will find investment support. It's blank, so you need to create your own investment support, what you want to define it over here. So as said, we define the investment support measures which the company want to claim and manage in asset accounting. In the definition, we must decide whether the measure is managed on a liability side or on the asset side. So either you can take it on the liability side or reduces the acquisition value on the asset side. If you plan to have the investment support reduce the acquisition value, you have to manage the investment support in the book depreciation area. So that we'll see in a bit. Now we can go to new entries and we can add over here the investment support. So suppose I take it as 01 and you can put the description over here, investment for project A, and then you can take the support area. So you can go on F4 key and you will find the different depreciation keys which we had defined in the asset in the chart of depreciation. So we can take 01, we can take any other as you wish to which you want to book this asset depreciation to. And you can see now below that there are different details from and to. So you can put the from and to date so as to know that this particular investment support is for what period. So suppose I take it as for April 1 2014 till 31st March 2015. Then you can put the maximum percentage rate as well. Suppose I take it as 10%. Then you can take on the amount side as well. Suppose I take it as $1 lakh or rupee, whatever. Now you can select the base area. We can go to F4 now, and again the base area can be selected. I take it as book value. If you have any retention value, you can take that, otherwise you can leave it blank. Now the period from when the depreciation needs to be charged, so that you can select over here. Suppose I take it as from ordinary depreciation start date, then check specs, no, and then it says repayment type for premature retirement. Investment support is paid back completely, proportionally by year, by month. So it varies on project to project that the repayment type will be what if there is a premature retirement. So it depends from state and the company's agreement what kind of an investment they are, whether they will be paid completely or proportionately in month or years or amount, whatever amount entered by the user. So we can take it as a blank also, you can take it, or you can take any of these options too. So once we have filled up these, we can go and we can save this part, and your investment support measure will be defined. Okay, it says enter a required period of retention. Okay, for support 102 is missing, so there is some error showing up. Okay, let's see the second screen now. Once you have filled up this, we need to go on the left hand side to the second step, that is depreciation area for APC reduction. We can double click onto that and it takes you to the next screen. Now in this screen you can see now these are the depreciation areas actually. So in that we need to go to new entries and we need to add the depreciation area. So we can go to new entry now and we can select the depreciation area. So the depreciation area 2 has been taken up over here. Now we can save this screen, and it says now depreciation area 32 also for area 02 is also missing. So let's take depreciation area 32 as well, and now we can go and we can save this screen. So it says OK, and the investment support measures has been defined as 01 for project A. So similarly, you can go to the third tab also, time dependent data. Double click onto that, and you can also put the time dependent data from and to on the basis of validity. So if the investment is for a longer period of time, then from time to time there could be a different percentage or different amount of investment could be involved. So you can maintain those detail from and to maximum percentage with maximum amount over here. And if you move to this last part, it says default values and check specifications. So if you double click onto that, if you have any default values like for which plant that investment was made, or which cost center the investment was made, or which class of asset that particular investment was made, if these things are known to you, you can fill those informations over here as well with the new entries. Else you can leave it blank. So this is how you would be creating your investment support measures in case you have been getting any kind of investment from these states for the assets which has been purchased by you. So once you have defined this investment support measures, the second activity comes up is specify accounts for investment support. Now these investment support, obviously when it would be coming up to the company, it will be affected, or it will be taken up in some of the ledger accounts within the FI part. So what will be that ledger account, which asset it will be, which ledger it has to be taken up, and if there is any depreciation, to which account that particular depreciation needs to be booked, that has to be assigned over here. So it says we need to assign the GL account for investment support. So if you double click onto this, so within the investment support measure, if you plan to have investment support reduce the acquisition value, you have to manage the investment support in the book depreciation area 01. Whereas on the other hand, if you plan to manage the support on the liability side, you have to manage it in a special depreciation area, for which you need to define a separate special depreciation area, but not in the book depreciation area 01. In both the cases, you can also manage the investment support measure additionally in other depreciation area as well for reporting purposes. So one can define each investment support measures so that it is proposed and checked during the master data maintenance. And at the same time, you can also if you have certain default values, you can also maintain those default values in the asset master data, like plant, cost center, or the asset class if is known within the investment support measure. So now moving up to the next activity is specify accounts for investment support. So as said, in this activity we need to specify the general ledger accounts for investment support measures. So whatever the different investment which are made, and whatever the amount of fund which will be received from the state or from the government or from the local bodies, that particular investment or that particular value will go to certain ledger account. Now if it has been received for asset, it will go to certain ledger with respect to asset, and if those assets are then used, the depreciation on those will go to some of the depreciation ledger account. So how those will be impacted? So for that we need to assign the GL accounts or general ledger accounts over here in this activity. So if you go and double click on this part, it takes you to the next screen where we would be assigning the GL account. So as you can see now, it takes you to the next screen, and where this is the chart of account. We need to select the chart of account, because chart of account basically contains all the ledger accounts, and we can go to choose account determination on the left hand side. So we need to double click onto this, and as you double click, it takes you to the next screen, that is the different account determination for the different asset classes. So if we look into this, the account determination computer, which was defined in the earlier steps in the couple of training back, the same we will be taking up, and the same we have been taking throughout the training as of till now. We will be taking up this 80020 as computer, and we will be assigning the GL account to this particular computer account determination. So as you can see, once you have selected this, we can go to the left hand side to assign accounts to areas, double click to it, and now it will take you to the next screen. So as you can see, now there is a book value, then there are these different depreciation areas, but it's up to you to which depreciation area you wish to assign the GL account. If you remember, in the GL in the asset depreciation, in the depreciation area, we have already seen that a depreciation area which has got a number 1 is the one which has got get their values impacted in the GL account, and that is 01. So we need to go to the depreciation area 01 and double click on this, and as you double click, it takes you to the next screen, as you can see, and you will find that the values are over here already been maintained as a special reserve account. So as said, special valuation is actually a special reserve. So whatever these different activities like net worth or insurance or investment support, these all actually are a part of a special reserves. So in the first step itself, today we define these GL accounts, and the same GL account will be working for the insurance support measures part as well. In case that has not been defined, so you can also go and you can define these GL accounts within the screen, and then you can go and you can save this screen. Now in case there is any kind of a refund account, or you can say repayment of investment support, if you repay any amount to the back to the estate, or if there is any kind of an expenses been incurred, those can be taken up over here. So that is something which the call needs to be taken up by the company, that what GL that will be to which this repayment of investment support should go, and what expense repayment of investment support should be there as well. So once you decide and you assign these different GL accounts over here to a screen, you can go and you can save this screen, and the GL gets assigned to the insurance support measure part as a special reserves. So moving back, this is how you would be defining your own investment support measures for the company, for the client for which you would be working, and then you would be assigning the GL account for that, so that those entry goes in the correct direction. In case you have not defined here, or even in the special reserve part in the initial screen, in that case you will not be able to post the values, because the system will give you errors for that. So this is about the investment part. Now we can close this screen and we can move to the next part, and that is define leasing types. So moving up with the leasing types, in leasing types we define the leasing types for valuation of leased assets which must be capitalized. We specify the leasing types in the asset class or in the asset master records, so as to identify which assets are basically leased, or the different kind of lease they are belongs to. So you can classify your leased assets with the leasing type. The leasing type also contains the essential parameters for posting the acquisition of an asset that is to be capitalized, such as transaction type. The system determines the accounts to be posted and the amount to be capitalized with the help of the following relevant values. So let's see how this define leasing type works. So let's see the screen, customizing screen, and you can find over here it's simple one. You just need to define a different kind of a leasing types. So it could be a short-term leasing, it could be taken on lease for some capital purposes, it could be taken up for some project related. So if you have taken up any asset on lease for a particular project, you can name that project over here, and that can be identified that this asset is assigned to that particular project. Or if it could be an operational one, it could be used for some administrative purposes. So whatever different kind of a leasing, you can categorize those leasing in, and you can define that over here on the screen. So as you can see over here, as it has been defined, similarly you can go and you can add new entries, and in the new entry we can go and we can put, suppose I take it 03 and I take it over here as lease for project ABC. Suppose I just name it for just as a project to it. So suppose you have been leased this, you have taken on lease this particular category of asset for a particular project, that can also be taken up. Or even you can take it as operation administration lease as well. And then you can go and you can take your transaction type. As I said, that you can classify your leased assets with the leasing type. And then the leasing type also contains essential parameters for posting the acquisition of an asset that is to be capitalized using the capital lease procedure with the help of the transaction. So you can take the transaction type over here. So what kind of a transaction it could be, you can select that particular transaction from the screen. Suppose I take it this to be so the transaction type needs to be used as 100, that is external asset acquisition. And once you have taken this over here, you can decide on the document type. The document type has to be AA for asset. Then you can take the input text, and you can go and F4 on this for the input text. So out of these, okay, so you can take the input text as A0 as per yours, and you can also decide for the posting key. The posting key will be 31, and in case you have any special jewel indicator, that can also be taken, but normally it's not been required. So once you have taken these, you can go and you can save the screen and save the customization. And now we can go back and you can see the depreciation lease have been added over here on the screen. So again, you can define these different kind of a lease types onto the system so as to identify later on. Now once you have defined these lease and the assets have been taken up on lease, then you need to activate depreciation areas in the respective asset class. Leasing conditions needs to be maintained in the asset master data so as to identify later on with the reports. So you can capitalize the lease assets according to the capital lease method using the present value of future payments. So these are the different leasing types, and this is how you would be maintaining your leasing types later on as you would be doing up on the system. Now that is it in the leasing part. We can go back to the next now, and moving to the next, the last customization in the spatial valuation part is, as you can see in the presentation also, is enter default values in asset classes. So if you move on to this and execute this step, this basically says if you have got any default values which you want to maintain, uh, like for net worth valuation, if you double click onto this, and for the asset class 80020, double click onto that. In case you have got any kind of a default values for the asset class or the group of asset, you can maintain those default values over here. So this screen we have done even today only in the net worth valuation part also, where we assign the classification key on the basis of which your asset can be categorized. We also have seen the property indicator by which you can identify whether that particular property is an owned property or leased property. Even you can go and you can select this manual net value worth valuation, which will let you know that it's the value for this particular asset class needs to be maintained manually. And if you go to the depreciation unit, that over here you can select the measurement unit on which the asset will be measured for the valuation purposes. So any of these, if you have any default values, you can define it over here on the screen. Like suppose for property indicator, I take it as property. Property means it's an owned property, so I take it as 1. That means whatever the different computers within this particular group of computer will be owned, are owned computers. And save the screen. Now we can go back. So this is how you would be maintaining the default values if you have any default values. If you do not have, simple, you can skip this step. Similarly, in case of leasing, if you have any kind of a default values, like what kind of a leasing type of asset that is, whether that is a capital lease or an operational lease or an administrative lease, so you can also assign that to the asset class. So even you can double click onto it just to have a look, and you can define that. So that is over here. Now moving back, the third is for insurance part. Double click onto this, and in this also you can put the insurance company name and details. What insurance company is it, what in premium you have been paying to it, and all those things can be maintained as a default value. So this is all about the default values, which is actually is not needed to be maintained in the asset class. More of this needs to be maintained on the different asset master data. So this is all about the different default values which we need to maintain for the net worth tax valuations and for insurance purposes. So that is all about the default value parts. It's a simple one, and it's something nobody maintains a default value for. So this is all about the spatial valuation part which we have covered today, and we have completed it right now. So these are the different customizations which we covered within this spatial valuation. The same you can go and you can practice it, you can try, you can maintain, and before maintaining you can think and you can prepare the exact types what needs to be maintained in the system. And later on when we will be moving up with the asset master data creation, there you can maintain these values. So that is all about the spatial valuation part for today, and you can practice this. We'll see you in the next training with a new topic. The next topic which we will be doing up is asset data transfer. So let's see you with the next topic in the next training. Till then, thank you, have a nice day.